find for research question 1, research question number 2, research question number 3. Okay, but also you need to link how does your finding actually be useful, okay, for the government or the whatever authority. So mesti ada, there must be some authority, some department or people of interest, okay, that will benefit from the research, okay, even though this is just a mock data, okay, but whenever you are writing a academic, whether it's a journal or thesis, okay, so the main part, or for me, for example, if I'm reading a student thesis, okay, beside reading the abstract, okay, just to get an idea what the thesis is about, okay, because abstract is basically is a summary lah, okay, of the whole idea, okay, the whole process of the thesis. What is your objective? What is the general method that you use, and also what are the main key findings of your project, okay, of your thesis. So that need to be included in the abstract as well. Okay. So, and at the end of your chapter number 5, basically you are repeating what you put in your abstract, but in more detail, okay, because you need to discuss all of the research questions, okay, the main findings of your research question. So, for example, if you go to thesis number 57 here, okay, of course, if you read thesis based on secondary data, okay, that rely on regression, for example, okay, OLS technique or whatever method that you find that you can use, okay, to answer your research questions, okay. Maybe the style of writing or the focus will be slightly different than relying on primary data, okay, but you still need to summarize what are the main findings based on your research question. So if you got 3 main research questions, so you need to summarize what are the main findings for each of the research questions. So in your case, RQ1 will be about the demographic characteristics of your respondent. So basically, you just need to summarize that. Okay, what no need to repeat in detail. Okay, but just highlight the key findings. So let me go through. Let me go to this each of the. Okay, so okay. Again, there is no standard layout lah. Okay, you can use your own. You can refer to many theses. Okay, other theses beside the one that I'm. So basically, why I open only these 3, because we use these 3 to discuss chapter 4. So I just want to be just having that continuity lah. Okay, kesinambungan from what we have discussed on chapter number 4. Okay, so let me. So maybe you can combine, okay, few style of writing your conclusion, okay, whether it's primary data thesis or based on secondary data, okay. So for example, this one, this is clearly on secondary data, okay, relying on regression. You can see thesis number 18, okay. There's a lot of estimation and technique, okay. But at the end of the day, when you go for the conclusion chapter, okay, so the first part is to summarize the findings lah, okay, based on each of the research question, okay, or you can put in one. If you look at this particular thesis, it's quite simple, meaning that in the first part is, okay, summarize the findings, okay, based on all of the research questions and research objective. Then the student goes straight to policy implication, meaning how does your finding actually can benefit, okay, the government, okay, or the local authority, depending on the scope of your thesis. If you are focusing, let's say, on UUM, as I mentioned, so the policy implication will be mostly relevant to the management of the university lah. Okay, if you are focusing, if your sample, let's say, based on negeri at state level, then maybe your policy implication will be relevant to the state policy makers, okay, the kerajaan tempatan, okay, the state government, or maybe it can also be related to the whole country lah, depending on how you can argue. Okay, so these are the two things that that you need to have lah. Okay, summary of findings. Okay, and then followed by policy implication. Okay, so if you look at thesis that rely on primary data as such 57. Okay, so first, I mean, there again, okay, you can just put this overview of the research, but which I don't think is actually necessary lah. Okay, but if you want, you can have some. Basically, this is like summarizing what the thesis is about. Okay, what is the objective? Okay, what are the focus? So in maybe in one small paragraph. Okay, so and then the student actually discuss the main findings according to the research question, okay, relationship between A and B. Okay, family influence. So you can discuss this way as well. In your case, you can discuss based on your research questions. Okay, so you can divide your 3 research questions into 3 subsections. Okay, one 5.3, for example, 5.3.1, 5.3.2, 5.3.3. Okay, so meaning you're going to have 3 subsections to explain or to summarize the findings of your 3 research questions. Okay, so but you do not want to repeat exactly the same thing what you have written in chapter 4, because chapter 4 you have already discussed, okay, the main findings, I mean the findings of your project. Okay, so you do not want just to copy and paste, so you need to have slightly different writing style or just highlight the main the key findings. Okay, so these are the things. And do not, okay, one of the common mistakes, okay, by student is, for example, they cite articles, okay, according to Alexander and the rest, but usually, okay, we don't cite any more literature. Okay, this paper is supported by Austin, for example, so this is actually not needed. Okay, because in conclusion chapter, you don't need to provide justification that your result is supported by, article by Austin, Gold, whatever lah. Even though you find this in this thesis, but this is not actually the proper way lah. Okay, because you have already discussed this. So conclusion is just to highlight the key findings. So for example, if you want to investigate what are the determinants, what are the factors that affect the cost of living. Okay, so maybe you have summarized, you have found that there are 3 factors based on your Likert scale. So you just discuss, okay, factor number 1, maybe in 3 or maybe in 1 paragraph. Okay, what are the main findings for the particular factor? Okay, maybe you want to discuss about, but no need to relate to past study as what you see here. So this is not actually the proper way lah to write your conclusion. Okay, so usually you just discuss the main findings. Okay, for example, if you look at thesis number 18, okay, so if you look at thesis number 18, summary of findings. Okay, so you can just see that how the student actually summarize. Okay, there is no mentioning about, okay, this finding is supported by John 2018. Okay, you don't find that way, that style of writing in this thesis. Okay, so that is the way actually to write your conclusion. Okay, by no need to mention something like what you saw, what you find here lah in this thesis. Okay, so maybe the supervisor or the lecturer did not go through very well. That maybe for example, here you can see, according to whatever lah. So you do not want to write this way. Okay, research by Alexander confirmed that blah blah blah. So there is no need to mention this. Okay, so need to be brief. Okay, just highlight the key findings. What are the main findings, whether it's significant or not. Okay, for each of your research question. Okay, and then so that is what I'm looking for lah. Okay, no need to write this way. Okay, supported by Mr. A, Mr. B, so this is not needed. So you can divide your research, your conclusion, the first part, okay, the summary of findings according to your 3 research question. Okay, that is, and then you can also put like this problem and limitation. Okay, for example here, if you look at this thesis number 18, okay, thesis number 18, first the student discuss about the policy implication. How does the finding of your thesis can benefit the authority, okay? Or maybe it, so there must be some writing on this, okay? Because at the end of the day, academic writing is all about, okay, contributing, that there must be some impact. That's why in your problem statement, you should actually mention about what is the implication if you don't analyze or you don't investigate the issue. Who will benefit from this study? Okay, that is what your problem statement should look like. Okay, if you watch the videos when I discuss how you should write your problem statement, okay, the characteristics, the key ingredient in a good problem statement, okay, one of the criteria at the end before you finish your problem statement is to highlight who will benefit, okay, who will actually benefit the most from the study. So basically, so you are going to explain more on that, okay, in your research, in your conclusion, okay, under the policy implication. Okay, so basically these are the two main things. First, the summary of findings. Second is the policy implication. Okay, for example, here study contribution. So, but I think the correct subsection should be policy implication. Okay, summary of findings. First is the first part. Okay, 5.2, and then 5.3 goes straight to policy implication. How does the finding benefit the government, the management, or whomever lah, that you think will benefit? Okay, for example, if you look at entrepreneurship intention, okay, who will actually, what are the determinants of to become entrepreneur, okay, among UUM students? So once you have concluded your study, so maybe if there are some factors, okay, for example, you want to for the management, okay, certain subject must be made compulsory, for example, mesti diwajibkan, okay, or you need to have more activities related to entrepreneurial activity among students, okay, so that based on your findings, so what do you think, how do you think your findings can be used by the authority lah, okay, by the management? If you're talking about, for example, using online platform, okay, for shopping, okay, if there are issues on security, for example, so maybe that is more on a general term, meaning that who will those who actually participate or want to go online, use online platform, what are the, for example, for government, okay, they need to provide, more, educate the public, okay, on the safety about online purchase. What are the things, for example, to avoid being scammed, okay, these are the issues that commonly associated with online purchase, for example, being scammed, your information is exposed, so maybe the government need to control certain website, whatever lah. So these are the things that you can highlight, okay. But at the end of the day, if your topic is a topic that has been done many times, so you can just read, journal thesis that is based on your topic and see how other students or other lecturers, other researchers, okay, conclude their project, okay, their thesis or their journal, and what are the main policy recommendation. Okay, so that is what, okay, the main things lah. And others, for example, you want to discuss on limitation, okay, what is the limitation of your study, okay, and also suggestion for future study. So these two, sometimes, you can also include this. Okay, for example, maybe do the study can include more variables or expand to other universities, okay, or whatever lah. So suggestion for future study is basically what you can do actually to, maybe if you want to do another research on a similar topic, okay, what can be improved, okay, apa benda baru yang boleh kamu lakukan, okay, what are new things that maybe you can, what are from different angle, okay. So that is suggestion for future study. So it's not if you're writing a thesis, yes, this is one of the general, important item as well lah, okay, and especially on this limitation, okay, because you can sometimes what you want to do in the beginning of your write-up, okay, in your thesis, but because of some constraints, some problems, for example, difficulty to collect data because of COVID-19, okay, you cannot collect data based on face-to-face interview, okay, because of the problem of because of the pandemic. Okay, so you need to rely on Google Form. So some Google Form people are not interested to answer or to these are the problem when it comes to online platform to collect data. Okay, compared to face interview. Okay, so maybe these are the common limitation that you can highlight lah, because of the COVID-19 lockdown. Okay, difficult to get data based on face-to-face interview. Okay, of course, when you read this thesis, they don't mention about COVID-19 lah, because these are old thesis, nothing to do with COVID-19. Okay, but if you read journals, the last 1 year or so, or if you find a thesis that was written during the pandemic, maybe you will find reasons to talk. I mean, one of the items that the student can highlight is the issue of pandemic. Okay, lockdown, movement, you cannot cross border, and these are the things lah that can be highlighted in the limitation. Okay, but above all, okay, the main thing will be the findings, the discussion of your findings, and then followed by the policy implication. Okay, so for example, so for this thesis, I think it's a bit strange. The student goes straight for recommendation. So this is not actually, I think, the proper way lah. Okay, you need to start writing what is the main conclusion, what is the main finding. So don't rely on one or two samples lah. Okay, so you need to look at as many theses as possible. Okay, and also journal lah. Okay, see how people conclude the findings and also relate to policy implication. Okay, because that is what a thesis should look like lah. Okay, for example, here conclusion on the findings. Okay, so basically what the student did, okay, for topic number 14 here, again, the student summarizes based on the objective or the research question. Okay, so okay, and also the student did not mention on limitation. For example, they just put, but recommendation, yes, recommendation means okay, how you can actually use your study. Again lah, who will benefit lah from the findings of your study. Okay, so if you look at PhD thesis, maybe you can get a better idea lah, thesis that is written by PhD student, okay, compared to master's level, master student. So I think to thesis based on PhD, you may see that maybe the structure of the conclusion is much more polished, lebih cantik lah, okay, lebih much better compared to a thesis based on at master's level. Okay, so if you look at this particular thesis also on, okay, so this is, I think, if you look at the number of pages, so confirm lah, ini memang thesis, PhD thesis. So again, there's a lot of discussion, okay, but depending on the supervisor lah, even though the student actually mentioned this, relate to past study, which I personally, I do not want for you to include, okay, according to this, supported by this. Okay, conclusion need to be simple and straightforward. Okay, refer to thesis number 18, for example. Okay, very simple. Okay, don't mention about how your study is supported by, because literature review or citing studies is only, you can stop until chapter 4. Okay, once you finish chapter 4, okay, in the conclusion, no need to mention how your study is supported by previous study anymore. Okay, because you already done this in the introduction. Okay, especially in chapter number 4, when you write your justification, this result is supported by A, supported by B. Okay, so no need to write this way again, because it will make your conclusion become too long. Okay, so that is what is needed lah, and then maybe you can have one or two subsections on limitation, kekangan kajian, okay, and then also on the suggestions for future study. Okay, so go through this other thesis, okay, and okay, the structure, the layout of your discussion, okay, will determine whether you have put enough effort, okay, to actually construct a good conclusion chapter, okay, and also from chapter 1 to chapter 5, okay. Don't so I will know lah based on the structure of your thesis, okay, the layout of your thesis, your margin, page numbering, all those things, okay, is part of the evaluation process, okay, not just the content but also the overall structure, okay. And not to mention, not to forget about your references, okay. So follow the APA style, okay, and the style of your references must be consistent lah. Okay, so for example, if you only highlight, I mean if you look at this thesis, for example, thesis number 9, okay, so uh, you can see that this is clearly an APA style lah. Okay, APA style references, okay. So the first line is justified to the left, and then you have okay, on the second and third line dia akan justified maybe 1 centimeter to the right, okay. So I think I've already mentioned or taught you on how to write references based on the APA style. You can use reference manager, the Google Scholar, or reference manager like the one that I use, okay, Zotero, okay, and then or use the functions in Google Scholar, okay, or you can import the reference directly into Zotero and export back to Microsoft Word, okay. So yeah, the one that I want to mention, okay, for example here, okay, if the capital letter is only relevant, is only applied to the first word, entrepreneur, for example, and the rest, L is small, okay, so you need to be consistent throughout, okay. But if you want to use capital letter for each of the word, E capital letter, L capital letter, D capital letter, then it must be consistent throughout of the article also lah. Okay, you cannot change. Okay, so you need to be consistent. Okay, sebab there are different ways actually, even though it's the same style, APA style. Okay, but if you look at journal or thesis, so if you want to keep only the first letter capital, the rest small like this, then it need to be the same lah for the rest of the references, okay, except maybe for certain cases, but usually it will be that way, okay. So you need to set, or you need to make sure that consistency in your references, which one should be italic, okay, which one need to be in bracket, okay, how you cite the volume number, the edition, and then the page number, okay, and then your surname, first name and surname and everything. So these are good references or proper references styling, okay, cara menulis references, okay, that is also an important part of the evaluation criteria, okay. Jangan main hentam saja, okay. So go through these theses, journals. Usually you get a better idea when you read good journal articles, okay. Go to Google Scholar, find articles that are based on good journals, Science Direct, okay, as Beer. So these are the journals that you can refer to, okay, and look at their references, okay. Look at their references, how authors, okay, highlighted or write down their their references, okay, from in their references, so that you get a better idea on how you can actually follow these these journals to construct your references lah. Okay, let me open maybe okay, let me share my screen balik dulu. Okay, for example, if you look at this thesis, this particular journal here, okay, you can see, okay, the title of the article, okay, only the first word is in bold, in capital letter. Okay, the rest all in small letter. Okay, so I would prefer this way. Okay, so you can follow. You can find any other journals. Okay, and look at how what is the correct way, what is the consistent way to write your references based on APA style. Okay, even though you import the reference from Google Scholar, sometimes it is not consistent. So there are different style when the article is uploaded into the internet, whether Google Scholar or the journal website. Okay, because different journal has different setting, so you need to have only one setting in your thesis. Okay, so if you as I mentioned, okay, only the first word is in capital letter, then the rest should be in small letter. Okay, so example as such what you see here in this article. Okay, so the DOI, okay, for me, you don't need to have to include DOI in your thesis. Okay, DOI means the address lah, how you want to retrieve the article directly. If you click on the DOI, it will bring you straight to the journal that published this article. Okay, so when you submit to a journal, yes, you need to include the DOI whenever it's available. Okay, but in your case, okay, DOI is not required. Okay, just the name. I mean, just the author's name, the article name. Okay, the title of the article, and then the journal, the name of the journal, and also the volume and the page number. Okay, that's it lah. Okay, DOI is not required. Okay, because once you start including DOI, you need to have DOI for every reference that you include. Okay, not only one or two lah. Okay, except certain cases, for example, like textbook, yes, you may not have the DOI, but if you start including DOI, you need to have most of the references need to have DOI. So these are the requirement by the journal. Okay, but when you write thesis, okay, DOI is not needed lah. I mean, at least in my case, okay, I don't need this DOI to be included. Just the author's name, article title, journal name, okay, and then followed by the volume and the page number. Okay, for example, you see here the volume is in bold. Okay, but if you look at the thesis, okay, in the Google Drive, many of them, okay, okay, apa tu, the volume is not in bold lah. So just okay, for example, here you can see that the volume is just in apa tu, is not in bold lah. Okay, but if you look at this particular journal, okay, is in bold. So again, this depend on the setting of the journal. Okay, but in your case, okay, the volume number no need to be in bold lah. So 19 just the normal 19. Okay, tak payah nak bagi gelap ataupun bold kan dia. Okay, so be consistent in the format of your write-up. Okay, whether for your individual or for your group assignment. Okay, and make sure that okay you follow the standard style lah. Okay, the cover page. Okay, and then permission to use tak payah lah. Okay, and then your abstract. Okay, your abstract is only in Malay. Only in English. Okay, no need to have Malay and English abstract, because if you refer to some thesis, okay, especially PhD thesis, they are even though the write-up is in English, okay, but the abstract is written in both Malay and, for example, like this one, okay, you have abstract in English and then followed by the next page abstract in Malay. Okay, because this is the requirement by the department, by the school, okay, for PhD thesis or even master's thesis, I think. Okay, but in your case, the abstract is only one, meaning that what are the abstract in English, okay, and put some 3 or 4 keywords, general keywords that is relevant to your thesis. So make sure you have abstract in your thesis, okay, only in English, okay. Acknowledgement tak payahlah. Okay, I don't need all this extra thing, just the abstract. Yang penting the cover page, your student name and also the metric number. Okay, and then followed by the abstract in English. Okay, and then table of contents. Okay, table of content, apa tu, ialah something like this lah. Okay, from chapter 1 until chapter 5. Okay, so table of content need to be organized. Okay, that's what you see here lah. okay, very presentable. Okay, go look at this thesis, look at and see how you can actually organize. So this kind of table of content is, for me, is a bit messy. Okay, I would prefer something like many lah. Okay, something like this. Okay, no need to have that dot 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 dot. Okay, very messy. Macam ni lebih kemas. Okay, so for table of content, you can refer to thesis number 15. Okay, for the example, how to write a good or a nice, clear table of content. Okay, so follow this style. Okay, no need to have that this dot 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 here. It's a bit messy. Okay, and then apa tu je lah. Okay, so whatever that you have included. Okay, appendix. Usually that will be your questionnaire. Okay, your questionnaire at the end of your thesis. You want to include the questionnaire that you use for your study. Okay, so that, I think that is the conclusion of chapter number 5. How you should write. Okay, what are the main things that you need to include? Okay, summary of findings based on your research objectives. Okay, and then policy implication. Okay, policy implication, and then maybe limitation of the study, and also apa tu, direction for future research, or inilah what you can do lah in the future. Okay, but the main thing will be the main marks will be on the summary of findings and policy implication. That two parts will give you most marks lah, that I will evaluate the most when it comes to the chapter number 5. Okay, conclusion and recommendation. Okay, and also okay, don't forget to include the list of table, okay, and also a list of figures. Okay, jadual dan rajah. Okay, table and figures that you have included, and make sure that the page number is the same as what it appear in your Microsoft Word file. Okay, so I mean, if your table, let's say figure 1.0 is on page 5, but here you show page 6, then salah lah. Maknanya so before you submit, make sure that the page number matches the table of content. Okay, if you say that, if you put here introduction for chapter 4, page 46, make sure that it is on page 46. Because sometimes when you adjust your margin, I mean your formatting, okay, you want to tidy up your write-up, okay, you end up changing the page number. So whatever that you have created in your table of content, okay, double check, triple check that every item here matches the actual page where the subsection appear lah in your thesis. So make sure these are taken, check, okay, few times. Okay, so I think on the layout, okay, you can follow several. I think I've gone through some good thesis, okay, in our lectures. Okay, so for the table of content, you can follow something like captured thesis number 15 here. Okay, and then cover page, okay, page, the group name, the title, the group name, your metric number. Okay, because don't forget to mention your group name juga lah. Okay, in your if you're group number 1, so just put group 1. Okay, and then apa tu, the abstract in English. Okay, and keywords lah, 3 or 4 keywords that reflect the main things, the benda yang utama lah, the main things about your thesis. Okay, English abstract only. And then no need to have this acknowledgement, tak perlulah. Okay, and then go straight to table of content. Okay, so table of content, and then the highlight from chapter 1. So for your individual assignment, okay, individual assignment, because you only write up to chapter 3, so your table of content will stop until chapter 3 lah. So so in your abstract for your I mean, so in your individual assignment, okay, because you all tak ada chapter 4 and 5. Okay, so your abstract will just be, because your abstract, okay, if you read any abstract from any thesis or journal, basically it summarizes what you do for the thesis lah. Okay, but for individual assignment, because you only stop until chapter number 3, meaning that you don't do any analysis. So your abstract will just reflect what are the problem statement until what method that you want to use. Okay, so basically the abstract will not be discussing the findings and also the conclusion of your thesis. That is only for your group assignment. So make sure that your abstract for individual, okay, is does not discuss the finding because you don't have chapter 4 and 5, even though the topic is the same. Okay, so basically your individual and group will be the same, except it will stop until chapter number 3. And as I mentioned before, the writing need to be different. Meaning you cannot just simply copy and paste from your group and put it, because then there's no difference between individual work and also group work lah. Then you will be apa orang kata, then it's like you are plagiarizing, okay, your group assignment. Okay, so the sentence, the idea can be the same. Okay, certain part can be the same, especially on research question and also research objective. Okay, that part, okay, mungkin ayat dia akan sama lah. Okay, but for the rest, okay, especially on the presentation, okay, if you want to have a different style of presenting your slightly different than what your group assignment is, okay, because when you go through this many thesis, okay, maybe you have one preference, one thesis that you prefer to follow the style that is nampak cantik, okay, nampak consistent, kemas and whatever. So you can follow that different style. So you don't need to follow the same style as your group assignment. Okay, that is one thing that you can do beside changing the writing style. Okay, so whatever, because when you work in group, okay, the problem is that you are submitting part by part according to group member. So maybe the quality of the group assignment is not that good. So you want to show that you can do your own style, okay, your own work much better. So that will be reflected in your individual submission. Okay. So I think our lecture for today, okay, so today is the 6th of January. Okay, so we will not be having any more classes on the next 2 weeks lah. Okay, so on the 10th and also 13th of January, okay, and also 17th and 20th of January, so there will be no more classes. Okay, if we have, if I'm going to conduct any class on the Q&A, it will be on the final week of, meaning on the 24th and also 27th. Okay, if we have any Q&A session on your regarding your thesis. Okay, but I will update that one later. Okay, but the main thing is that submission for your individual and your group work, okay, will be on the 27. Okay, group video presentation must be submitted by the 20th of January. Okay, so I will put this deadline in your OL. Okay, whether you need to submit in your Word file or Microsoft, in terms of Word or PDF, okay, refer to the instructions in your OL later. Okay, any question before we end our session?